Hello and welcome to Love Healing with me, Tiffany B. On this episode, we get to talk about Ashtanga Yoga. And I'll be honest, I don't have very much experience with Ashtanga specifically, but I have been very curious about all types of yoga, so I'm willing to try. And learning Vinyasa is kind of the gateway. It seems for many people, most of the people that I've talked to are started in the practice with me. And apparently, Ashtanga is a form of Vinyasa, but it's a more structured form. So you have to focus a little more, and the poses are always the same. And you are able to more so track your progress with Ashtanga in a period of time as you go through these series. Let's see, what do I want to say today? I don't know, but I think if we're talking about healing and love and healing, yoga with just the word yoga, meaning to unite or yoke together, not just physically as individuals practicing in a room together or something like that, but literally to connect the breath to the body, so therefore connecting the soul to the physical. Yoga in and of itself, when you think about the breath, the life force that goes within us, is a form of healing. And it can be very therapeutic for people. So finding the right one for you, whether it's hot yoga or, like I mentioned, Vinyasa, or what we're going to dive into today, Ashtanga, or maybe Kemetic, or I don't know, I'm still Hatha. There's the list just goes and goes. But they're all healing practices. So it just depends on what your body needs and what your heart says is the right fit for you. Just to give a little bit of background for Ashtanga Yoga. What is it? So Ashtanga, and I'm just learning this, means 8 limbs. So although in many yoga trainings we discuss the 8 limbs to yoga, or the 8-limbed path to becoming a yogi, I didn't realize that was the actual meaning of Ashtanga. So Ashtanga Yoga is a highly structured Vinyasa style class. There are 5 Ashtanga Asana series, and an asana is just a pose. So warrior 1, down dog, etc. They're all asanas, poses. So there are 5 Ashtanga Asana series, and each student must master every pose of the first series before moving on to the second, and so on. Ashtanga came to the West through students of Pattabhi Jois, who passed away in 2009 after establishing his yoga center in Mysore, India, which is very interesting. The first series, pause there. So the fact that he opened a center in Mysore connects another dot for me, because Ashtanga is often referred to as the Mysore series. And now I know, and I'm sharing with you, that just is a place in India. So it's once again connecting those lines that kind of swivel and swirl around the world, but then end up in the same place. The first series begins with 10 sun salutations, 5A and 5B, and then continues with a series of standing poses done on each side, and then finishes with a set of inversions and seated poses, which are linked with a Vinyasa sequence. So Vinyasa is a little more flowy, it's a little more creative. You learn all the poses just as you would in an Ashtanga series, but you get to put them together however you feel like it with Vinyasa. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much about Vinyasa, because we're going to do an entire show just on that at some point. So what are the 8 limbs? We won't go into too much detail, because trust me, it would take way too long to get through all these explanations and each and every one and why and where it comes from and all the origins. But I will post a link to an article and or a couple of resources that you can pull from on your own time and kind of figure out if the 8 limbs speak to you, or is there something else that works for you. That's all this is just tools. So the 8 limbs of yoga are yamas, which are behavioral observances, things that you should do. And it often refers to, yourself, your inner person. Niyamas are behavioral restraints, things you shouldn't do, which typically refers to the outside world and how you relate to others. Asana, as we just kind of briefly went through, is the practice of physical postures. Pranayama is the practice of breathing techniques to control our life force energy. So in our bodies, we have our nervous system. There's an autonomic and there's a somatic nervous system. The autonomic automatically happens. You breathe, your blood pumps, that just is. Your eyes blink, it just happens, you don't have to think about it. But breath is literally the only part of your autonomic nervous system that you can then control and make it somatic. So if you notice your natural breathing pattern and it's suddenly short and tight and up in the shoulders, you can take a deep breath in through your nose, fill up your whole body, and exhale, let the shoulders fall. Now you just controlled something that naturally happens. But with pranayama, it's focused breath. So then you want to focus the energy somewhere, or you want to focus the breath to some part of the body and release or expand or contract or compress whatever the body needs for that pose or for that moment for your body. Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses. So when you meditate, it is said that you should have a single point focus. And this is where people get the idea that you clear your mind. And in the Western Hemisphere, that's a lot harder said than done, because we have so many things going on all the time and so many thoughts just ping, 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 ping. All the things we have to do for everybody else, all the things we need to get done for ourselves. But if we can start to slow down the thoughts, then as they come in your meditation while you're breathing, you acknowledge them, you let them go, and the thought is that they will start to come slower and slower and far between until the space in between is so long that you're just focused on the breath, your single point. That's pratyahara. Dharana, which is concentration, it pulls right back into that. So now if you have a single point focus, maybe it's above your head, maybe it's below your feet, maybe it's a color, maybe it's a place. Now you're concentrating not only on the breath, but on something outside of you that's going to take you into the next plane, right, of existence. If you could follow along with that, if you could go with me on that. Dhyana, which is meditation itself, when you get into that serious, like, I'm sitting here for an hour and I'm just going to be. That's when you can get into the stillness, the clear mind, the space that you can just exist but be present. Samadhi is transcendence. So when you not only can meditate, but then when you can allow yourself to get out of your head, out of your body, and into the universal space, connecting with your source, your guides, your Holy Spirit, whatever you call that, but that direct connection to the higher, bigger purpose outside of you. Those are the 8 limbs. So what is the purpose and are the benefits of Ashtanga? The ultimate purpose of Ashtanga practice is purification of the body and mind. By moving so quickly and powerfully, you get a lot of tapas and everything extra. So tapas is that doing energy, that moving, going, processing, that's tapas energy. Physical and mental will have to get out of the way. This practice has a strong sense of purpose, and you are forced to focus and grow. Ashtanga comes with all the benefits of a regular yoga practice, of strength, flexibility, stress management, and inner peace. Because the series is so demanding, and in traditional practice, you're expected to practice most days, you will really get strong really fast. There is no part of the body that doesn't work in this practice. So learning about Ashtanga and finding someone who teaches that in a practical manner was my goal for myself, to find a teacher without having to go to an ashram or a shala and really immerse myself. Just kind of tip my toes in the water and see, what is this really about? How is it different from what I've been practicing before? And how can I maybe still utilize that in my life practice to help facilitate and continue the process of healing? Because it is a process. It's ongoing, depending on how many layers you have to get through to heal, depending on what your trauma is, depending on what your life's been like. And I could say that everybody's story that I've met so far is a little bit different, but the similarity is they were looking for more. Like, they knew there was a deeper purpose, a bigger purpose, more to do, more to feel, more to say than just the mundane, rat race that we are so caught up in most of the time, focused on, money and material things and all the things that help, us survive in this plane in this time. But what if we found a way to get beyond that? What if we found a way to find true love for ourselves first, and then therefore being able to emanate that out into the world to others, no matter what they do to us, right? As good or bad as it could seem, there might be a lesson there. There might be a mirror there. There might be something inside of you that you have to face. And that's, as you go on the journey, you'll find the things that help you acknowledge it and then move on. As always with this episode and everything else that you find in your life, take what works for you, use it to the best of its ability for you, and then leave what doesn't. If that doesn't resonate with you, that's not what you truly believe, drop it there and say, thank you for that contribution. I'm gonna exit stage left. And that's okay. So today, in this episode, we are going to talk to Christina Mills. And Christina is a student teaching assistant at Ashtanga Yoga Atlanta. She studies under Todd Roderick, and she's done so since 2017. She's also the founder of Liveology Yoga Studios, where she shares information about the 8 limbs of yoga online and offers corporate wellness solutions. She happens to have a 6-week yoga series at the Fitness Collective, and I'm diving in with her to just learn a little more and get more familiar with even my body and find the progress and track how I feel through this process. And is it different than anything else that I've done before? So let's talk to Christina. We get to talk to Christina Mills. I'm so excited because she is an Ashtanga yogi guru, teacher,
something like that.
Something.
One day.
So Christina, how did you find Ashtanga yoga? Who are you? What's your story?
Oh my God. So I found Ashtanga after a car accident. And this was a few years ago. So it was kind of like one of those crossroads times in my life. Everything was kind of not working like at all.
Yeah.
I hated my job. My relationship was a hot mess, like just everything, and it was like I couldn't quite figure out what exactly the problem was. And then this car accident, I think, kind of brought things to a head where I needed to do something about it.
Wow.
And so the first thing I really found was meditation. Like, I never really got into yoga at first. I just really needed a way to calm my mind because I was like, I feel like I'm losing it. Like I'm
Yeah.
literally like, I think I've lost it. And so I was like, let me just sit and think for a second and maybe figure something out. So I started going to this place called Drepung Monastery, which is in Druid Hills. And I was going to these Buddhist monks and I would just sit there and be like, someone help me. Like, I'm just going to sit here.
Oh my goodness.
And then after a few months, I found this woman named Kino McGregor who does YouTube videos and had been working at home. And I was like, I have time to kind of do something that's, I can kind of do something at least. And so she had these little 20-minute videos. And so I just started doing them like one every day. And so
Nice.
after a few weeks, I realized that she teaches Ashtanga. I didn't really know what it was at first that I was just doing her videos. They were cool. And so after a while, I kind of figured out that this is like a real sequence. Like it's not just like a random assortment of poses. And I was like, okay, there's more to learn here. Like this is something like that you really need to be taught by somebody. And so one of her videos, she was just like, if you like what I'm teaching, you need to find a yoga teacher. And I was like, I need a teacher. And so I just found the most experienced person I could find in Atlanta. And that's my teacher. And so I've been there for 3 years now and just never stopped. So
awesome.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
So has that helped? So since your accident, did you have to do physical therapy or anything like that?
I didn't. So pretty much my whole physical therapy was just doing yoga. Yeah. And it was like, but I think the biggest problem, and this is kind of why it's interesting talking about this, because I didn't feel like I had any major issues that required physical therapy. Like if you had asked me at the time, I would have said that like, yeah, my wrist was kind of messed up from the accident, but it's okay. And I just thought I was kind of just not feeling right. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that the accident messed up my back. I think that's what it was. So it didn't like look like anything was wrong with me. Like if you talked to me, if you looked at me, you would have thought that I was fine. But I felt like depressed and kind of off balance with like everything. And so somehow the yoga practice, I think, started to unlock things that I didn't even realize were there. And I think even some things that were probably there before the accident that I just had never realized were even issues that could be addressed. You know, I think a lot of us have kind of, what do you call it, like old injuries, right? Or like back pain. Like I know, like once I started talking about back pain, like I can't tell you how many people are like, yeah, my back hurts too. And I'm like, yeah. And it's just something like we kind of live with these little things, maybe our knee hurts or just little things that everybody kind of lives with and never really thinks that you could do anything about it. And so that's why Ashtanga was amazing, because it was like, oh shit, like now that I feel better from this car accident, like I can feel even better than I did even before that. And so that's when I was like totally hooked. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I love yoga. So I didn't even know until I found Booty Yoga, which is vinyasa based, that there was different kinds of yoga. And so when I learned that, I was like, what? There's only this. Like this is the only thing, but it's not. And until I met you, I never met an Ashtanga yoga.
Yeah. There's not that many of us.
No, there's not. Yeah. I feel like everybody's on the vinyasa flow vibe, or maybe hot yoga, you know, but not really hatha or Ashtanga or even Kemetic. So can you tell us what is Ashtanga yoga? What makes it Ashtanga?
Yeah, it's so if you've ever been to like any type of general yoga class, this is not that. Like this is like pretty much different than any public class you've ever been to, because what we do, the best I can explain it is close to martial arts. Okay. So it's a set sequence of postures. We have 6 different series. And when you start, everybody learns half primary. But after that, the poses are assigned to you by your teacher. So you end up building a close relationship with that person because they start to watch your alignment, how you move. They start to observe kind of the structural habits that you have. So like sometimes we'll do things without realizing it. And that teacher can kind of point them out to you and start correcting them and start getting you stronger. And so over time, you learn the whole sequence with the guidance of someone in particular, especially because some of the poses are kind of precarious. So like the first pose after half primary is an arm balance with your legs around your arms. And then you go down to your chin and come back up. And so people are like, why is it that you don't teach us the full primary series from the beginning? It's like, well, if you're ready to do an arm balance on your first day, like let me know, I'll teach it to you. But like most people,
no.
it takes a little bit of time to get there. So, but that's the exciting thing, is like they give you these hard poses and then you can do it like over time, because you work the same poses every single day with the same teacher, and you're in a room of like people doing it. You kind of make progress faster than you would expect. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the studio, so one of the things that could happen is the phone could ring. But that's okay. We don't cut. We don't do any. It all is how it is. Okay. So I'm wondering if Ashtanga Yoga, if the teacher assigns the pose as you kind of move up, is it stretching you past what you normally do? So let's say you're not an open hip person, and then you get, what is an open hip pose?
Like Baddha Konasana.
Yeah.
With your feet together and you come down. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Why did I just go completely blank? Is that in the second part where the teacher would say, okay, so we need to undo this closed hip or internal rotation and get you into something externally rotated? Or do they go with what your body is already shaped as, and then kind of, so if you're already an open hip person, then we're going to work on Baddha Konasana today, or Fire Log, Agni Stambhasana, or something like that.
Yeah. So the sequence doesn't ever change regardless of what your body type is, which is fascinating.
Oh.
So regardless of your age or your body disposition, everyone gets the same postures. And so the theory is that even though we all have individual needs, at the end of the day, the way you unwind somebody's body is almost identical. It's weird. Okay. So, but that said, like the beauty of the teacher is that they can give you those cues. So let's say the same pose, right? I might need a different direction than you need in the same posture. And so the teacher can give you that. But also the teacher can get you deeper into a pose than you otherwise might be able to. So like Baddha Konasana, a lot of people have difficulty getting the knees down. And so when you're at home, and you're just kind of like, well, I'm just going to do the best I can,
With my knees up by my shoulders.
Right. My shoulders up by my ears. Everything is just all crunched up. I know. And then, but when you have the teacher there, they can help push your knees down, give you cues to breathe, relax. And then all of a sudden you can make progress past what you would have been able to do on your own within a day. And so the primary series, when you practice it, it's almost like giving yourself a spinal alignment every day. It's almost like you're stretching, but you're also becoming stronger every day, and you're repeating these same patterns. So you're starting to break kind of old patterns, especially if you have depression or like lack of confidence. It starts to break through that into kind of a whole different way of moving and being in the world, which starts to kind of go off the mat, right? So like you start to get better at the poses, but then all of a sudden, like you start saying like, hold on, like this is kind of permeating through my whole life here. And like it's just really magical, at least for me, how I've experienced it and like seen how it works on people. It's definitely more than just like fixing my wrist. You know what I'm saying? Like it fix your wrist and then also fix your heart. You know what I'm saying? Or like fix your like hips, but also fix your like, ability to interact with people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like so different like that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so I've only taken one class with you, and I could feel the difference in that class. And my mom is now like, I love Ashtanga.
Yeah.
I want to do Ashtanga all the time now. Like,
that's awesome.
Okay, Mom. She's like, I can't get into the poses yet, but I will.
Yeah.
And what I'm starting to see with people in most yoga practices, or people who are open to it, the more they do, the more they like it. And then the more they're open to try more things. So that goes to your point of being off the mat.
Yeah.
Are you using your breath in these poses? So I know with vinyasa, right? You inhale this, exhale that. Is Ashtanga still breath focused, and do you use props?
Okay, so two-part question. Let's start with part one.
Part one.
One is yes, and the other is not really. Okay, so Ashtanga follows the Tristana method, which is asana, which is the posture, breathing, and looking point, or dristi. Dristi, so we use a lot of Sanskrit. So when you learn proper Ashtanga, everything we say is in Sanskrit.
Yes.
So asana is just the posture. Breathing is that you cue an inhalation or exhalation with every asana, with every movement. And the idea is like, if you ever watch like a dog or like an animal like hop or something, they use their breath to help them with the movement. And humans, for some reason, like I feel like we've forgotten a lot of these really basic like instinctual patterns when we move. And so it really, especially when you start you're jumping, like jumping forward and jumping back, you learn to use your breath to kind of, it like helps the movement go forward, and it makes it easier. So we definitely, that's kind of one of the key principles is like learning the breathing, and it also helps you to just be calm. So like when I was after my car accident and I was having a lot of issues, the breathing was what helped me to kind of be more aware of when my breathing is off.
Okay.
You know, when I'm holding my breath, because sometimes you'll be subconsciously holding your breath and you're like, why do I feel so weird right now? And it's like, it's because you haven't been breathing for the past minute, honey. Inhale. You know, like, so sometimes you really have to tell people like, inhale, exhale. And it's because subconsciously, like, we don't even realize how often we hold our breath. And that creates stagnation and fear, you know, and you don't even realize that you're doing it a lot of times. So
yeah, it's either we're holding our breath or we have that short breath. So then we end up with tight neck and shoulder because it's like, you're basically hyperventilating.
Yeah, right, exactly. And like a lot of people, including myself, are just living that way all the time. And until someone points it out to you, like you just don't even really pay attention to stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, so part two. Okay, props. Listen, okay, a lot of people hate Ashtanga because we don't use props at all. And like, okay, if there are cases, like there's one person in the shala that I go to with my teacher who has like very prominent disabilities, and so he gets to use props. But anybody, like if you are able to walk around and function without a cane or any type of anything in your regular life, then you can do Ashtanga without any props, because the point is to strengthen you for life. That's the point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I've created a situation where you need a block every time you come up from the floor, every time you do a forward bend, then what happens when you're at home and you need to bend forward? Are you going to get a block before you, right? Like, I think that's kind of what we're trying to teach. And it's not to be hard on people, but it's like, this is the space where you get stronger. You get stronger with Christina with an Ashtanga class. Do you know what I'm saying? And then when you get home, you can use all the props that you need. But like, I think I've appreciated the lack of props, because I think it pushes you to find something in yourself that can do more than you thought you could do. And I think the whole point of Ashtanga is that.
What about modifications? So if there's no props. So there's a school of thought that I just found out about that is the props that help you get deeper into your poses, like the blocks, etc.
Yeah.
But much like Ashtanga in Buddha yoga, we did not use props. And it's a high intense form of yoga. Like there's cardio, plyometrics, everything.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's modifications. Okay. So if you can't do a reverse burpee, that's okay. We'll break it down to this. Or if you can't do warrior 2 just yet with your heel, you know, aligning with the arch of your back foot, that's okay. We're gonna do maybe a pyramid. I don't know. But the point is, you know, there's a modification. So with Ashtanga yoga, is it the pose adapting to the body, or can the body still adapt to the pose?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're definitely in the camp of the body will adapt.
Okay.
When you set, I feel like it's the same with like kids education. Like when you set a high standard, people will try to meet the standard.
Okay.
If you set a low standard, people will try to meet a low standard. It doesn't matter what standard you set. And I think that's the important part, is like if you give people a handicap from the beginning, then they already know that they have the help. Like I think it's, I'd rather make it the exception than the rule. So like, let's say there's poses like, you know, this is why we only teach half primary to beginners. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why. That's really why, because it's, you want people to be successful. And so I want to introduce a pose when someone is going to feel excited and ready to tackle it, as opposed to feeling like,
like I'll never be able to do this.
Yeah, like you don't want people to have that, right? But I think Ashtanga, the reason we practice every day is because it's meant to be a commitment, like a long-term process.
Okay.
And when you let it be that, and you say like, okay, this pose might take me, like my goal, I've been practicing for 3 years. I still haven't even gotten to my goal pose yet.
Oh, can you tell us what it is?
I haven't even learned it yet. No, I can't.
Okay.
I haven't even learned it yet. But the point is that like, it's a long-term process, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you want fast results, that's cool. You can go to CrossFit. Like, that's cool. They'll push you and they might hurt you and you might injure yourself. But I think Ashtanga is like, stick with us for 6 months. Learn the basics from the beginning. Learn the foundation, like really understand what we're doing here. And then once you're strong and the teacher can see that you're able to do it, then I promise you, you will be able to do it. But I think it's learning, I think it's a different mindset because a lot of people are used to kind of quick, like, I want to be able to just get my splits. Like, where can I go that I can just learn the splits? And it's like, learning the splits is a process of opening the hips and the back and, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Release, that
so
could take,
many
in reality, could take someone a year.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for saying that, because I've been seeing these ads lately of like, do the splits in 6 weeks and all this. And I'm like, somebody is going to tear something, right?
Yeah.
It makes me cringe every time I see it.
Handstand, I've seen it. Like, learn handstand in 30 days. Like, if you don't already have a strong back and strong shoulders, like, no one can handstand in 30 days. Like, nobody. Yeah. There's not one person, unless you're already like being training in something.
Right.
Yeah, it's lies. And then you see people like me and it's like, you know, you don't know how long I've been doing it. It just looks like you can just do it. And you don't realize the, I think, amount of effort that people take to get some of these things. I think it's just being real with, like, it can take a while. And if you want it, you will have it. It's just a matter of letting it take the time that it takes, you know?
Yeah,
I don't think that's bad.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I when I took your class, I was challenged. And I have been teaching since 2013. But just and I plan to take many. So I hate to keep saying I've only taken one class. But just that one class, I was in there like, whew. And it wasn't like we were doing arm balances or anything extra, but it was the cues. And I think it was the sequence. And then it was the extra attention to where my body was positioned in time and space that I usually move through a little quicker in the vinyasa flow. Mm-hmm. That made me pay attention to the pose and my body. So I was trying to make my body adapt to the pose, which now I know that's right. You're supposed to do that. But it felt different.
Yeah. And I think also it's kind of like you can't escape, right? Like when you are in a vinyasa, most general vinyasa classes, because I took vinyasa, you know, before I found Ashtanga, so I'm not shading on it at all, right? But it's like, you know, they'll say like option to do this, option to do that, you know? And so there's escape. There's always an escape.
Yeah.
You know, so if you don't feel like it, or if you just don't want to, or whatever, just, you know, do something else. And Ashtanga says like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. And you can't skip the poses. You can't run from the poses. Everyone has a pose that's hard for them.
Yeah. You
have to do that same pose every day. You can't be like, I don't like Purvatanasa, so I'm just going to skip from this one to that one. You don't get the option of that, you know? And if you do it, my teacher is like Hawkeyes. Like, I swear to God, he could be like outside the room and be like, did you do Purvatanasa? And I'm like, how did you know that? What the hell? Like, so it's like, but I think that makes you, I don't know, it just makes you stronger in some way that it's like, okay, I figure this out. Like, it can be done. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact this can be done. Yeah. People can do this. And so it makes you find a place that says like, I'm just going to figure out a way. And I don't know, that's kind of exciting to me. It's hard, but it's exciting. And I think the hardness of it is what makes it so special. Yeah. You know, because you have to really, I don't know, I just feel like in life, things are just so easy sometimes.
Yeah. Or when it's hard, we just opt out.
Yeah.
And that's not necessary. I do this with my son all the time. He's like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, why? Because it's hard? Because you can't just choose not to do something because it's hard. So bringing that to an Ashtanga class, that helps with accountability.
Yeah.
At first, I know for me, it would be, okay, I know the teacher's looking, so I'm going to do it. But then after, I think that I would get into it and be like, no, I need to do this. So it goes from external accountability to an internal self-accountability.
Yeah.
Which now makes me want to get into this series that you're doing.
So we're doing a beginner course, Foundations course. And because Ashtanga, there's so much to it. There's Sanskrit, there's, you know, I mean, there's so many different postures. We're teaching you arm balances. There are arm balances that come at some point. And so we do a 6-week course that just breaks it down, so it's not intimidating.
Yeah.
Every day we do a little bit, and then over the 6 weeks we build up to half primary series. And I've taught this course before. It's really exciting watching the transformation in other people, you know, and the fear and terror kind of slip away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I teach people who are older than me, who are not necessarily athletic, people who've had children, and it doesn't matter. Like, anyone can really do it. So it's just a matter of, I feel like it's more a mind thing than it is a body thing. And if you want to do it, then you'll do it. If you don't want to do it, then you'll never do it, you know? But if you want it, it's literally for everybody who wants to try it, can do it, for sure.
And not only that, but it's 6 weeks. So it's not like we're saying, be in this 1 year long program that you're practicing every day. Although I hope that people do start to practice every day.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least Monday, 10 a.m. for the remix. Monday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. for the remix. And then Tuesdays at 4:30 for the series. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm plugging because Christina is amazing.
Thank you.
And we really want to build this class up. But for more than just the class, right? It's for the people.
Yeah.
Because I think that I don't want to use the word downfall, but where I start to get stuck sometimes is I'm trying to make people do something. I'm trying to make them think outside the box. I'm trying to make them see things my way. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm going to do this. Won't you join me? And let's see what happens, because it can't hurt. If you've already been doing your life one way and you still feel not awesome, why not try this and see if it helps?
Yeah.
And then if the 6 weeks is over and you just don't love it, at least you tried.
Yeah. And I think kind of to your point is like really committing. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to kind of put your toe in the water and be like, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to take a yoga class. I'm going to buy a yoga mat. That's like putting your toe in.
Yeah.
But I feel like to get results, like, and this is from someone who's been practicing 6 days a week for 3 years.
Wow.
Literally. And the only time I take off is when I'm having my cycle. And when it's like a full moon or a new moon, because the shala is closed on those days. Every other day I've been there.
Nice.
And it's like, I'm telling you, I'm not saying you have to do it for that long of a time, but even for a short time, committing to doing your practice for yourself, to make that decision that, you know, even if it rains, I'm going to go. Even if I have a bad day, I'm grumpy, I'm going to go. And I think making that decision that, like, I'm going to do this every day for 30 days or every day for 6 weeks or whatever your commitment is to yourself. I think that's the most important thing. And that's really how you get results in any type of fitness, whatever, is that, like, personal, like, I'm not going to give up, because the reality is, you know this, that as soon as you make the commitment, things will pop up to, let me say this nicely, mess you up.
Yes.
And so, like, you really have to be firm in your commitment to yourself, that, like, when things come to mess me up, I'm not going to let it, and I'm going to still go and do what I need to do for myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
I do too. I agree. I don't know. I feel like this went by so fast.
I know.
But okay, so just to kind of bring everything full circle, on your journey, you were in a job you didn't love. First of all, are you still working there?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then you got into a car accident, and then you found Ashtanga. Was it in that order? Was there something in between? I think we talked about meditation before.
And then Ashtanga.
Okay. Yeah. But those are kind of the biggest tools for your healing journey.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I love that.
Yeah. It's just, and I guess just to wrap it up on my end, like, it is physical, right? Like, we do all and you see the yoga poses. I get it. It comes across, it is a physical practice. Mm-hmm. But the deeper part of it is that it really helps you to focus your mind. I feel like I call it magic hour, like the hour right after yoga practice. And I'm sure any yoga practice is similar, where it's like, you just feel like on top of the world. Like, you just feel at ease, that everything is okay. You know, somehow I have insights into things within that hour and a half after yoga class. Like, hold on, let me write this down. Like, I used to journal like crazy when I very first started, because it just seemed like all the insights I needed from my life were just coming to me. I was like, right now I need to write it down. And then after that, the whole day, I'm feeling pretty great,
Yeah.
And so I think it's like, for someone who really just wants to, like you were saying, like something seems off, or like, I just want to take my life to the next level. Like things are going great, but I just feel like there's something I could really sharpen, focus in on. I just feel like Ashtanga helps you to be kind of a very sharp, well-honed version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't see why anyone would not want that. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. I'm just going to keep talking about it forever because I like it so much.
I could talk to you forever. I wish our podcast listeners could see this, and actually you can if you go to the YouTube channel. But this smile on your face is something that I would even just come to class just to see. Even though while you're teaching, you're usually like,
I'm a little bit more.
You're like making sure that the alignment is where it needs to be. But it's still a smile. It's still like your energy permeates, and you can feel it. Like you can feel that you care, and you can feel that you've been on some kind of journey. For sure. So now we know a little bitty part of it.
That's it, yeah. and then just like when people, and I think I've had to learn this through having a teacher, is like such an important lesson that when people like give you feedback or try to help you improve, like it's out of love. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think in the yoga environment, we can do that with people and give them like, hey, like maybe you should move your hand here, or maybe you should posture yourself that way. Yeah. And I think in real life, a lot of times when people give us feedback, it can be like, we'll take it as negative or like as hurt our feelings. Yeah. And I feel like the yoga environment has really taught me to like both receive feedback and like not be offended and accept that people really want to help me, make me be better. And that kind of helps me to try to, when I give cues and when I'm teaching, to try to give it out of love so that they know, like, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to poke fun at anyone, but like, we're here to make everyone be better. Yeah. And that's it. I agree. And even if people don't mean the best for you, there can still be a lesson learned there. Yeah. So you can always take something from anything, positive or not so positive, and make it what it needs to be for your life. Because it could be a mirror, or it could be a reflection, which is the same thing as a mirror. But you know what I'm saying. I know exactly. Like it could be something you need to see, or something that you've been pushing out. Either way, you can be like, why is this person seeing this in me? Like either way, like I think I need to look at that, right? Yeah. Like I need to know. So that's another level of self-accountability. I don't know if we're all ready for that yet. We can talk about that later. Yeah, I'm still working. I'm a work in progress there. Well, thank you, Christina Mills. Thank you. So we have the lovely Christina at the Fitness Collective in Atlanta on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. for her very own style of Ashtanga, though. It's a little cooler. I like to say it's a lot cooler because it's a remix. Yeah. So we're just taking the same postures, but we're just doing it in a fun way. We put music to it, and also just kind of some dynamic movement that helps you get into the pose. Yes. Because sometimes you can't get into it the first time. So we just kind of stretch ourselves into it till we kind of ease on in. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. I think that's also what I loved about it. We weren't necessarily stagnant, but when you said 5 breaths in down dog, I was like, if we have to do 5 breaths in down dog one more time. And then my song came on and I didn't even remember. I wasn't counting. I was listening to you. But we also have her. Yes. Thank you for the reminder too, because I never realized that as a student, I am not really focused on my breath. I'm focused on my body. Just trying to hold. Yes, and I think it's an ego thing of like, well, I'm a teacher, so I should be able to do. Yeah, I should be able to do all of this. But I wasn't. Right. And that was like, take a seat, be humble for a moment, and breathe. Yeah. And then focus on what yoga is actually supposed to do. And then that's when I got into it. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that. Cool. And we also have our 6-week series that starts. Come on, people. Tuesday. You know you want it. Yes. If you're in the Atlanta area, we would love for you to join us here at the studio at the Fitness Collective. I might keep poking at Christina to open it up virtually for maybe 3 or 4.
No, probably not. We'll see. We'll see. Because Ashtanga is really in person. Like, it's very...
It's very hands-on.
Okay.
I'll say that. It's very like, you know, if you can't get into this bind, I can get you into the bind. Like, I'm just saying, I have some magic hands. So, like, this is really what you want, is these hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can teach you the poses. I can tell you some stuff. I can even write it down. But, like, this is really
what you want. Yeah. Yes. Well, I'll be there. So, and we have 2 spots open.
Yes.
So, it's filling up.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
Thank you for coming and talking to us.
I love this space. You guys really need to come here. If you have not seen how beautiful it is and how peaceful the energy is, if you need to be around some happy, positive, high vibrant people, this is where you need to be. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll plug all of her social medias and all the pages and ways that you can learn from Christina. But in Atlanta, you can come to the Fitness Club. So it sounds like Ashtanga Yoga can be for everybody, anybody, at any time or any point. And I'm wondering, you know, as Christina was talking, how we could incorporate that even for people with limited mobility. I don't know if that's even a thing. So how do you know Ashtanga Yoga is for you? If you love structure, if you like challenge, if you like predictability, then I would say 9 times out of 10, that's the one. That's for you. Because doing the poses over and over and over, pretty much in the same sequence, gives you the chance to really get into the body and allow the body to adapt to the pose. Even though, as she said, the pose really adapts. No, she said the body adapts to the pose. Okay, good. Anywho, as you do that, you can also go into a state of meditation because you already know what's coming next. You already know what to do. And then you make these tiny little adjustments every time, get deeper into the pose and deeper into your meditative state where you're less likely to focus on just what's happening in the body and more likely to gain from the benefits. So that's how you know that's going to be for you. If you have some sensitive muscles or joints or, again, limited mobility and things like that, perhaps not the first type of yoga to start with, but maybe chair yoga would be for you. And we'll talk about that and the adaptive styles that have come about to be able to reach many different types of people with many different types of bodies and forms and structures. Because sometimes your bones are just not meant to do certain poses. No matter how warm your body is, no matter how much flexibility you have. First of all, flexibility without stability is just basically making your body a rubber band. It's not productive at all. But no matter how flexible you are, if you have straightforward, narrow hips, it's going to be that much more difficult for you to get into a pose like, say, Malasana Garland pose, wide, low yogi squat, and have your heels grounded to the floor and the tailbone tucked as well. That's less likely to be a pose that your body's going to want to go into. So there's a strong emphasis in Ashtanga Yoga with really breathing and connecting the breath to the pose and the movements. And I love that. That's what speaks to me even with vinyasa. So seeing how it plays out in Ashtanga is going to be interesting, to say the least, for me. But I'm going to try. I'm always willing to try. And then I'll report on it later. We'll see how it goes. And you're welcome to join me. We have opened our Ashtanga series to virtual for 2 more students. So you can grab your spot. Yes, that was a shameless plug. Your entire body, though, will work hard in this practice. And challenging yourself is always going to be a good thing, as long as you're not hurting yourself. I'm very, very big on alignment and stability, from which it sounds like Ashtanga Yoga is as well, at least in the way that Christina has learned it and that she teaches it. So that's a check for me, and I can't wait to see how it goes. So I hope you find an Ashtanga yoga class for you. Maybe visit a shala, maybe take a training, maybe, again, join us online and see how you feel connecting your breath to your body in very specific poses in a very specific way, and allowing yourself to expand mentally, physically, and maybe even emotionally. Because who knows what's being kept in our tight hips or in our tight necks and shoulders, what stress we can relieve, what anxiety we can get out once we're able to take a full, deep breath. And just learning how to breathe sometimes is very helpful in regulating blood pressure, blood sugar, and calming the mind. So whether you call meditation, or whether you call it prayer, or whether you call it, focusing, strategizing, planning, those are all moments that you've got to take your mind to a specific thing, whether it's in or outside of you, and allow yourself to visualize the next step. Let's see what happens with Ashtanga Yoga. Thank you. See you next time.